Let's take a look at, as soon as I can find the right document, let's take a look at the zero factor property. Our fourth type that'll be on the test. And let's review a little bit. Zero factor property. It says if P times Q is equal to 0, and P and Q can be anything, then you set P equal to 0, and you also set Q is equal to 0. So let's look at some examples. Okay, so we got x squared minus 8x minus 20 equal to 0. Now we're going to factor this, and x squared, x, no number for the x squared. This is a Psd method. So I'll write it over here. And I'll show all the steps here just so you'll have it. We take the number at the end, ignoring signs, and write it down. And we're going to come up with 3 columns. A product column, remember we final products give us 20. There's 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Sum column, we add those. 1 plus 20 is 21, 2 plus 10 is 12, 4 plus 5 is 9. In the difference column, we subtract them. 20 minus 1 is 19, 10 minus 2 is 8, and 5 minus 4 is 1. The number we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is 8, which is right here, which means we'll use 2 and 10. Remember our note on our signs. A larger number in the P column is always going to be the same sign as your middle term, which was negative. If the number you circled is in the D column, D for different signs. So if this one's negative, this one is positive. Remember, if it's in the S column, S for same signs. Now, zero factor property says if you got 0 on one side and you factored the other side, you set each factor equal to 0. So I'll set x plus 2 equals 0 and x minus 10 equals 0. And then solve these. So take 2 over and we get negative 2. And take the negative 10 over and we get a positive 10. And those are our answers. Let's look at another one. Got 12x squared minus 11x plus 2 equals 0. And this is the key number. X squared, x, no x, and there's a number for the x squared. We're going to take the number at the beginning, which is 12, times the number at the end, which is 2. 12 times 2 gives us 24. And we again come up with our columns. All the products give us 24. We got 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Add those together. 1 plus 24 is 25, 2 plus 12 is 14, 3 plus 8 is 11, 4 plus 6 is 10. Subtract them. 24 minus 1 is 23, 12 minus 2 is 10, 8 minus 3 is 5, 6 minus 4 is 2. Number again we're looking for is a number in our middle term, which is 11, which is right here, which means I'm going to use 3 and 8. And we're going to do it a little bit different here. We rewrite the middle term using those 2 numbers. Now our notes on the sign still holds true. Your larger number in the P column, which is 8, is going to be the same size as your middle term, which is negative. The number I circled is in the S column, S for same sign, so if the 8's negative, then the 3 has to be negative. And then I factor by grouping. Looking at only the first 2 terms, I see they have a GCF of 4x. And that gives us 3x minus 2. My second group, the last 2 terms, have nothing in common, but my first term starts with a negative. So I'll factor out a negative 1. And that gives us 3x minus 2. Now they both have a 3x minus 2, so I factor that out in front. And that leaves us 4x minus 1. You kind of cross these out to see what goes in your second set of parentheses. So zero factor property. We've got 0 on one side, we've factored the other side, so we'll set each factor equal to 0. So I said 3x minus 2 equals 0, and 4x minus 1 equals 0. Here I'll take negative 2 to the right side, becomes a positive 2. Divide both sides by 3. And those 3's cancel. And we got x is equal to 2/3. Over here, take negative 1 over, becomes a positive 1. Divide both sides by 4. We're just doing a linear equation method here for solving. These 4's cancel. And we got x is equal to 1/4. And those are our two answers. And last example we'll look at of this type, we got 9x squared minus 16 equals 0. No GCF, two terms of minusing, a difference of two squares. Remember the difference of two squares, we try to write as something squared minus something else squared. We ask ourselves what times itself gives us 9, that's 3. What times itself gives us x squared, that's x. And what times itself gives us 16, which is 4. So we are able to write as something squared minus something else squared. Well, difference two squares says we take what's inside our first set of parentheses, we add what's inside our last, and take what's inside our first and we subtract what's in our last. Well, zero factor property, get 0 on one side, you factor the other side, you set each factor equal to 0. So I'll set 3x plus 4 equal to 0, and 3x minus 4 equal to 0. Now here I'll take the 4 to the right side, becomes a negative 4. Divide both sides by 3. Those 3 is going to cancel. And we got x is equal to negative 4/3. Now over here I'll take the negative 4 to the right side, becomes a positive 4. Divide both sides by 3. 3's cancel. And we got x is equal to a positive 4/3. And those are our answers.